What's up guys? Today we're going to be checking out Chaos Walking on 4K Blu-ray. This isn't going to be a review on the movie itself. I'm just going to share some of my thoughts on the audio and the video quality. First, let's go over a few tech specs. The movie was shot in 6.5K. It's got a 4K DI. It's rated PG-13. Runtime is 109 minutes. Aspect ratio is 239:1, and the audio is in Dolby Atmos. Since this is Dolby Atmos mix, I will be using the Atmos viewer to show you guys what's happening in the soundtrack. If you don't know what the Atmos viewer is, I'll leave a link for it in the video's description, as well as links for the movie if you do want to pick it up. So I had some high hopes for the audio in this movie, seeing as it basically takes place outside in the forest, which I was hoping was going to be reminiscent of A Quiet Place, and it is in fact very similar. Now just a quick little synopsis if you've no idea what this movie's about. If the character is a man and they happen to be thinking, you'll see these images that float above the character's head, which shows what that person is thinking, sort of like a thought balloon. The females on the planet are immune to this, so the guys would have no idea what the women are thinking, which is kind of like real life, but the women can tell what the guys are thinking. Now in this particular scene, you've got a lot of men thinking. You'll be able to hear their thoughts in the height channels, and if you look at the Atmos viewer, you can see the yellow balls float around the room, and every single speaker is really active. Now when Todd is walking through the town, you'll hear the voices pan through the top channels as he's walking past all these guys, and it sounds all really cool. In this particular scene, you've got Ray under a house with two guys talking and walking right above her head. If you didn't have an Atmos setup, the guys talking would just come out of the front speakers, so you'd really be missing the feeling of being under the house. Since this specific scene takes place under the house, it is a dark shot. There aren't a ton of dark shots in the movie, but HDR really helps to deepen the black levels over the 1080p version. I never noticed any crushing or muddiness in the darker scenes, so shadow detail did remain intact. Also, the color palette got a small boost in saturation over the standard Blu-ray, which I thought was a little duller looking in comparison. So the blue skies were slightly deeper and the greens were a little more lush. There were also smoother color transitions in the blue skies as it shifts from a darker shade to a lighter shade, so better gradational tones overall, as I did notice some banding in the regular Blu-ray. As I mentioned earlier, I thought this would be similar to A Quiet Place and have some good atmospheric effects. You can see here during this quieter scene that every channel is lit up with insects, wind, water running, just a ton of environmental sounds that wrap around you in every direction. It really is an immersive mix that makes you feel like you're outside all the time. And another thing you'll see is just how 4K crispy all the trees and foliage look. I thought the standard Blu-ray looked pretty sharp, but the 4K definitely steps it up in the detail department. All the little leaves and grass were sharp with a crisp edge, and you can almost count all the strands on the mayor's fur coat. So I mean, textures were always highly rendered. The only thing I thought looked off was the CG alien. Other than that, I thought the way they showed the guy's thoughts blended in well with the live action. And speaking of live action, I found bass response in the movie to be decent, but nothing I'd say was demo worthy. I think the best parts were right at the intro and when the ship comes crashing to the planet. The bass wasn't crazy, but does give your subs a bit of a workout in those scenes. And dialogue always sounded good, whether it was in the center channel or in any of the surround speakers.
That must be overwhelming.
So for audio, I'm gonna give it a 9.7. I think this might be the most immersive mix I've heard so far this year. Whether it's a quiet scene or an action scene, you'll be surrounded with sound from every direction. I thought the bass could have used a little more extension in certain parts, but overall, I found it to be a great mix. Now, if this is your first time on the channel and you're into movies or audio and video gear, consider tapping the subscribe button for new weekly videos. Alright, so for video, this is one crisp looking movie. It was all shot digitally, so there's no grain for the grain haters out there. It's also not the most colorful movie or even the brightest, but I think a lot of folks are going to like how clean this transfer looks and how super detailed it is. Therefore, I'd have to give the video a 9.5. Now, despite all the negativity I've heard going into this movie, everyone that I've watched it with thought it was pretty good. So I mean, if you're looking for something that looks as good as it sounds and isn't all that bad, I do think that this movie is worth a watch. Well, those are my thoughts on Chaos Walking on 4K Blu-ray. Have you guys seen it and what'd you think? Leave a comment and let us know. As always guys, thanks for watching. If you want, you can follow us on social media, and if you want to support the channel and get exclusive content or great discounts on audio and video gear, then stop by our Patreon page. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you guys again in the next video.